Okay, hope you're adjusted in correctly and you can see me without seeing part of me, because sometimes I do that. It's hard for me to see what the camera's actually doing, because I'm not looking at the screen, I'm looking at the camera. So, my name is Kent, channel is EOS San Diego, and I like the blockchain. I talk about the blockchain every night, and I like EOS. And I talk about EOS almost every night. I don't think I've ever skipped a night of not talking about EOS. So yeah, I like the blockchain. I like EOS. I like freedom. That's what I like. I like freedom. I like good things in life, and that's why I like the blockchain, and that's why I'm so passionate about it, and that's why I make these videos. And probably the main reason I make these videos, more than money. I don't, money's nice, and sure, everybody like to make a little bit of money, and it's nice to invest in a cryptocurrency and see it do well. And we've made money with EOS. I mean, we've invested low and made some money, and then we've lost some money with some other purchases. But the main reason I do these videos, and I've talked about it. A lot of people, I have talked about it on previous nights, and I usually say it's because of our token, our challenge token. I'm here to talk about our challenge token. I'm here to talk about development and building on the EOS blockchain. But more than that, the bigger picture for me is I'm here every night talking about this. And believe me, there's a lot of nights I don't want to make a video. But I've been making a video for quite some time now. I don't know exactly how long, but it's been quite a while. Maybe close to 2 years, I don't know. But it's been quite a while I've been making a video. And probably about a year and a half on EOS. So there's a lot of nights, you don't want to make a video. It's late, tired, do you want to go to bed? And I make these videos really, really late at night. And sometimes I'm really busy. Sometimes I got other stuff going on in my life. Sometimes I'm traveling. But I always try to make this video. And the reason I try to make this video every night, and I try to stay connected with the community, is because my biggest desire, my biggest passion, is to tell the younger generation about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and EOS and Ethereum and all the other great cryptocurrencies. I want the younger people to know it. I want the younger people to know about cryptocurrencies, because I don't want them to grow up in the financial tyranny that previous generations have grown up in. I don't want them to grow up under the Federal Reserve System, under fiat currencies, under devaluation of their money, because I've seen it all my life. I've seen people that have saved and be punished for saving because you have a government that prints money out of nothing, and you have money that becomes devalued by the second, by the day, by the minute, by the hour. And that's why I make these videos, because I think the freest way to transact, the freest way to have money is through cryptocurrencies and digital currencies, without the burdens and all the regulations and rules and all the previous elitism of the past systems. I say all that to say this. Today, actually yesterday, because it's the next morning right now, our infamous President Trump tweeted about Bitcoin, telling us that Bitcoin, not a big fan. He likes to use that word a lot, not a big fan. He says that all the time, not a big fan. He's got about 5 things he says. He's always not a big fan of something. So today he's not a big fan of Bitcoin. And I don't want to get into a political talk, because I'm not a political person. I don't really care about politics. I'd rather watch the latest JavaScript video or tutorial than I would sit down and listen to a Donald Trump speech or Joe Biden speech or anybody like that. I'd rather keep up with technology than listen to politics. I'm kind of agnostic when it comes to politics. But I've never really been a fan of Donald Trump. And I've always felt that his ideas of trade wars, his ideas of tariffs, his ideas of elitism, his ideas I'm practically everything. I've always thought the guy was a huge BSer. I mean, I've been around a few BSers in my life, and let me tell you, this guy takes the cake. He's about as good as it gets as far as BS is concerned. So today he comes out with the Bitcoin thing. I don't like Bitcoin, and other reasons he doesn't like Bitcoin. He doesn't like Bitcoin because Bitcoin is volatile, and there's just nothing but thin air. As if the US dollar isn't nothing but thin air. I mean, I don't know how volatile it's not as volatile as Bitcoin, but the volatility, and it's out of thin air. Well, that's all we've been living under for the last, since 1913, or 1971 or whatever. They went off the gold standard entirely. That's all we've been living on is free thin air, or things created out of thin air, and that's all it is. So he comes out and says this about Bitcoin, the freest way of transacting in the history of the world. The removal of people like Trump and Maxine Waters. It's kind of interesting, Maxine Waters and Donald Trump agree on this. They both think that Bitcoin should be regulated, it should go through the banking system, it should do all this, all that, everything should be, so we should put it back under the thumb of the bureaucrats and all the burdens of this current system that has robbed so many people of their blood, their sweat, and their tears through labor, and devalued their currencies to the point where you literally got to make a ton of money before you can even live in your own apartment or your own house, drive your own car, and have a little bit of something left over to have something to eat. I mean, that's what it's gotten down to. It's really gotten down to that. I tell stories all the time in this channel, and I'll tell another one. Actually, my wife's great uncle. Well, he's not great, but one of my wife's it'd be my wife's grandmother's brother, whatever that is. I don't know what that is. Was a shoe salesman, and he was a shoe salesman in a small town. I think it was Springfield, Missouri. Very prosperous man. All he ever did was sell shoes. He never owned the shoe store. He never made the shoes. He was just a shoe salesman, and he didn't even sell shoes outside the store. He sold shoes within the store, but he was a shoe salesman. Basically, just helped people find shoes that fit him, would help fit him and do stuff. That's what he did his whole life. Man was able to accumulate a couple homes, have a nice, sizable retirement. He and his wife lived well all the way to the end of their lives, and did very well. Was a prominent person in the community. Actually, was a member of all the different social clubs and everything like that. And he was a shoe salesman. Now try that today. Try being a shoe salesman today, and see how much you accumulate. He accumulated homes. I think he had a house. He had a rental house. He had bank accounts. He did very well. I mean, all from the salary of a shoe salesman. You wouldn't do that today, but he did that. I mean, you're talking about someone that grew up in the 40s and 50s and was able to accumulate a really nice income. And that's nice enough income by just selling shoes in a common, everyday, ordinary place. I don't even think there were anything special. He was just a shoe salesman, and he did very, very well, which is what way it should be. You shouldn't have to struggle if you have a job. I know people right now that have 2 or 3 jobs. They can't afford to own a car or rent an apartment. I see it all the time. I mean, I see it all the time. I talk to them all the time. 2, 3 jobs and they can't make it. No money in the bank account. And they're working hard. And they're really working hard, trying hard. So really, this is just the slamming of something like cryptocurrencies is just a way to keep the elitists in place, let them continue to control the system, and let the younger generation just grow up where they have nothing, they will never have anything, and be under the thumb of this whatever government subsidy plan they want to throw out to them, like they're doing with the farmers right now. Let's just ruin the farm market, ruin the commodity prices. But you know what? We're going to give you we're going to give you back something in this little pittance here. We're going to give you back we're going to give you back some money from the government. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, that's what it is. We're not going to let you have a free market or some sort of compete with other countries on a level playing field. So your commodity prices can be bought and sold without with some feelings of making something on your own. No. We're going to put tariffs on other countries for other things and make the commodity price so they don't want to buy your commodities anymore. And then we're going to give you back some sort of subsidy through a government program. That's the way they'd like to operate. They'd like to have everybody on some sort of government program, some sort of government subsidy, of which, the party that Donald Trump was part of, that's not what it's about. It should be about the other thing, about making sure farmers are doing well without subsidies and without help from the federal government. So anyway, and I'll continue on with the story about my wife's uncle, great uncle. My wife's grandmother, very beautiful woman, very nice woman. I really loved her. Owned a property, a nice property, I think in Des Moines, Iowa, actually. And sold that property. Well, actually, she sold the property and put the money on savings. And I think it was around $40,000. And she got to be very, very old, but during her lifetime, she lived off the savings of the $40,000. So $40,000 in the bank, she got a little bit of interest off of that, and she lived off of that interest for all of her life, for the rest of her life, after her husband passed away. And I think he passed away when he was pretty young. So the $40,000 generated enough interest for her to live, not really well, but, she had a place to live, she had food, she had everything she needed. And she was able to live a really good life, but what she needed, not an extravagant life, but what she needed. She never wanted to spend the $40,000 because she wanted to give it to her grandchildren, of which my wife was one of the grandchildren. So she was very, very frugal, tried to protect the $40,000, but kept it in the bank because she needed the interest money. But by the time my wife's grandmother had passed away, $40,000 split up 6 ways was literally nothing. I think it was, a few $1,000s, 6 times 5 is 30, a little over $5,000 per grandchild. So by the time my wife got this inheritance that my grandmother was so wanting to give her, hoping that it would do something to better our lives, really wasn't worth much of anything, $4,000 or $5,000. I mean, a little bit more than that maybe. But see, in my grandmother's mind, or my wife's grandmother's mind, that was life-changing money. That's what her idea was, is that it was going to give the grandchildren enough money to maybe do something, start a business, do something big. That was her mindset, because that's the era she grew up in. No more, thanks to people like Donald Trump, because they want to keep an elitist system going that brings everybody down. They do not want to let Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, have a foothold. They'd like to keep the same old system going that we got going right now. And the banks have had 10 years to adopt a system, a freer system, a system that matches Bitcoin, and they haven't been able to do it. And you got the famous Donald Trump, of which I never listened to, know very little about, don't even want to talk about. Really not a fan. Yeah, I'm not a fan fan at all. I mean, I don't know how many people get upset with me every time I bring up his name. I got a lot of people telling me that, he's a great guy and I should be a good American and love my president. But I've never been a fan, not a fan now, and I'm really not a fan now, especially if he's going to go out and tell us how Bitcoin is basically basically not a real thing. It's a fake thing. It's nothing but thin air. So yeah, I was waiting for this from him because that's just about where he's at. It's just about par for the course for the guy. I mean, funny thing about him here recently, did a 4th of July speech. 4th of July is a big day in the United States of America. It's Independence Day. He gets up there and starts talking about the Independence Day and talking about the Revolutionary War, and probably everybody's heard this, but I think it's funny, and I'm going to mention it anyway because it is really funny. Continental armies storm the airports. I mean, like what? How many? Probably what? 1776, 1778 is when the Revolutionary War. So we got probably 120, 130 years before the airplane was ever invented, let alone the airports. But we got them storming the airports in the 1700s. So this is kind of where I think he's at with Bitcoin too. He's about that far behind, and I don't think he understands Bitcoin. I think he just understands the fact that he likes the idea that the power people are still in power and they stay in power, and that the younger generation doesn't get a shot as they would do with cryptocurrencies. And that's, like I said, why I do these videos. I do these videos for the younger generation. I build on the blockchain for the younger generation, and I'm passionate about that. And that's why I do these videos, and that's why I do it every single night, and I will do it as long as I got the energy and the health or whatever else it takes to do this, I'll keep on doing it, because I'm definitely want the younger generation to have a brighter future than the previous generations. And for the reasons I've said, is because money's been devalued, money's been taken from us, and the current system is dead and dying. And anybody that thinks it's the future doesn't really have a good, a good way of thinking. As somebody that doesn't think that thinks that we had airplanes and airports in the 1700s. So anyway, what else can you say? I hope it doesn't affect the market. I saw the market going up a little bit when I left. So hopefully it'll just do just the opposite. If Donald Trump thinks the cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin are a bad idea, hopefully the market goes up. It should. So anyway, a bit of a ramble, and like I say, I don't want to hear all the stuff about Donald Trump. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. I don't want 10 comments about how Donald Trump's a great guy. I don't care. If you like him, that's fine. You like him, that's great. He's the president of the United States. I respect that. But you know what? As far as his understanding of economics, as far as his understanding of how to handle the trade in this country, I think he doesn't have a clue, and I don't think he has a clue about Bitcoin. I think he's clueless about a lot more than Bitcoin and a lot more than the economy. So anyway, thought that was interesting. Probably shouldn't even have made the video to give it more attention, the fact that he even tweeted today about this. But I just want to let people know, because I've called it for a long time, that this guy's no fan of crypto, and he's never going to be a fan of crypto. So anyway, think about that the next time you go to voting booths. Thanks very much. Appreciate you watching.